We're going to go to mycraftsource.com, and under SVG spot, you'll see free SVG files. Let's click on that. And right here is one that's called Acrylic Blank SVGs. These are all the SVG files that match exactly to the size and shape of every acrylic blank that they sell. Now, the good part about this, with my mystery box, you got the acrylic blank for the fruit slice. So I want you to go add to cart. They are absolutely free, so you'll add to cart and then check out and basically purchase this freebie. After you get that freebie, you're going to get an email, and that's going to have a link in it to go download the freebie. After you have gone through the checkout process for the downloads for these SVG files, you'll get an email from my craft source. And then I'm able to click on this link, and it takes me to a page where I go acrylic blanks SVGs, and there is the download file. So now I'm going to download those. They're in a zip folder. We'll unzip that, and then you can bring that into your software for cutting your design. So now I'm on my computer. I went to my downloads folder, and here is the zip file for the acrylic blanks. So I am going to right click on this and go unzip and say extract files here. Depending on what your operating system is, how to unzip a zipped folder might be different for you. I'm able to just right click. You might need to do a Google search on how to unzip on a Mac. So now you can see I have another subfolder here called acrylic blanks. So let's go inside there. We can see all the different SVG files for all the different blanks. The one we want to use for our watermelon slice project is this fruit slice SVG. So you can see this is where I already had my design from the other projects I was working on. So let's go upload images, and browse. I'm now going to go to my downloads and open up the acrylic blank folder and scroll down until I find the fruit slice. So let's grab that. So this is the exact size of the fruit slice acrylic blank. So now I can go upload. I'll click on that and add it to the canvas. So now I'm basically going to be using this as my template, which I'm going to lay the Mickey Mouse watermelon over. So I'm going to click on this portion. I had the white layer turned off, but I'm going to turn that back on. So for past projects, I had attached the entire bee suite and the Mickey Mouse icons because I wanted them to cut out in exactly the location that I have them placed here. So this is a really good tip for why you would use attach over weld. If I had welded these together, I wouldn't be able to unweld them, and they'd be forever stuck together. But since I attached them, I can detach them, which means now the bee suite is separate from these mouse icons. So now I can go back up here to this bee suite and scroll up to the top of it and turn off the entire grouping. So now that I have the bee suite turned off, actually I could take this whole grouping and close it down so I see less here. Okay, now I'm going to turn the white layer on because I want that all together. I do want the mouse ears to hold their position, so from the layers panel, I'm going to click on one of them, hold down my shift key, and start to click on all the other mouse icons. I'm holding my shift key on my keyboard. So now I can attach those so they all stay together. And I can show you that they'll all stay together by, see how I can move them over here and then go undo to put them back. It was at this point in this project that I realized the SVG I made does not fit the acrylic blank exactly. So we're going to turn this little mistake into a teaching moment. And now I'm going to teach you how to make basically the same design I made, but have it fit that acrylic blank exactly. I'm going to use offset and actually slide it this way so it's an inset. And you can see it's even notching around that circle shape, which is really great. But I wanted a little bit less than that. Okay, so I did minus 0.05. And if I go apply, so now I can change the color of that one. Now I'm going to take the fruit slice and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to place it down here and I'm going to use contour and turn off that little dot opening, because now what I'm going to do is reduce the size of this piece to, let's go 2.65 and see how that fits. That actually works pretty darn good. So let's make that one white. Then we could duplicate that one and let's go 2.4. 2.4? 3.5. And make that one pink. Let's go 2.4. Okay. So now I want to take this curvature out of this. So what I'm going to do is take the green and duplicate it. And let's take the white and arrange it to the front. And let's center these. Align, center horizontally. And say align to the top. And now I'm going to slice. Because what I wanted to do is get rid of that hole. So let's take that out. And if I just layer this right on top, actually that works really nice. Okay, so now if I go arrange to the front and line this guy up, technically, is it inside there? Yeah. So if I take all of these and say align them so they're centered horizontally, that's how it's going to look. Then what I can do is ungroup this one and just take the mice heads and say arrange to the front and place those. Okay, so I don't really need this anymore. But that shows you how I recreated this same design for the second project. And instead of doing these skinny little slices, I'm going to layer full layers on top of each other. That's actually going to be easier for lining things up. So this is just showing you a different way to layer. Okay, so now you're going to get rid of this black piece because we don't really want to cut that. That was just to help us get this little notch in here. I'm going to turn all of this off because this was my original design that I used for all of the other projects. So now when I click make it, it's just going to make these pieces, which will layer on the keychain. After we are done cutting our permanent vinyl, we can start the weeding process. I have all 4 of my colors and my acrylic blank sitting here. With the acrylic blank, there is a thin film layer over the top of the acrylic that helps to protect it and keep it clean and make sure it doesn't get all scratched up in packaging. So I'm just going to hook that and peel that covering off to expose the nice clean acrylic blank, and then I can start to layer these colors on top of that acrylic blank. To help me with layering, I am going to use a small piece of parchment paper, and that's going to help me to line things up when I put this white piece on top of the green piece. So first I'm going to grab my clear transfer tape, place that over the white piece, and then smooth it down and burnish it. Burnishing it is just rubbing it down so that you get a good surface stick. I like to burnish on the front and the back, and then I peel the backing off versus trying to lift the transfer tape up and hoping that your vinyl stuck to it. I just find this is easier. So now be careful because the whole back of this is sticky. So you put it over the parchment paper with just a little bit hanging up off the top edge. So now when I go to line it up over the top of the green, I can line it up, but the whole thing isn't sticky. And yes, I know I'm doing this kind of off camera, but I needed to get right over the top of it because my eyes are not that good to work fully in the center of the space. So I will bring it back once I have it all lined up. But being able to see through that parchment paper is allowing me to line up that design and adjust the lineup until I'm happy with how it's lined up. And then what I can do is smooth things down, and then actually I need to, there we go, smooth it up on the top so it sticks just at the top. Now I move this transfer tape up and pull out the parchment paper, it's going to be stuck on the top. And then I can just kind of roll this back down so it layers on top. Perfect. And then I'll remove the transfer tape and I'll have the green and the white stuck together. Now I can do the same thing with the pink. Now it's time to transfer these 3 layers onto the actual acrylic blank. And I'm going to burnish over all 3 layers and then remove the backing from this. And you're going to see that all you will be able to see is the green backing, because remember we layered the other colors on top of those. So it's just going to look like one big green piece, which is fine. And you can do this because I'm doing this on an acrylic blank, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference that we're going to have more of a thickness. Now how I'm going to apply this is using the wet method. I have a spray bottle with just a little bit of water in there, and I'm just going to lightly spritz the back of the vinyl and the acrylic. And then I'm going to take my finger and just kind of spread that water around. And this is making it so it's just kind of slippery, because then you'll see that when I place on the acrylic blank, it's not going to totally stick down. If I go, you know what, I don't like the way that lined up, especially with the notch around the circle, I can lift it back up. So you'll see here that I'll put it down and see right there, I pulled it back up and the whole thing lifted up because there was that water on there to just give it enough moisture to not make it a solid. Once I have things aligned where I want them, I'm going to use the burnishing tool again to stick things down, because now I've decided this is where I want it, so I'm kind of pressing out some of the water and getting it to stick right in place. After I peel this off, I will not use this transfer tape again because it's wet and that ruins the stickiness of it. But then I can also grab a towel, paper towel, or I have just a rag that I keep in my craft room, and dry this off and let it dry completely until you add the next layer on top. Also, if you see any bubbles in your layer that you want to get out, you can take your pen and actually poke down into the center of those bubbles, and then when you go over that with the burnishing tool, it kind of presses the air out of those bubbles. And some of those bubbles will be hidden with this design because we're going to layer those Mickey Mouse heads over the top, but this just smooths down that surface a little bit more. Now that everything has dried, we can grab a clean piece of transfer tape and transfer the Mickey Mouse icon layer onto the very top of this design. So I'm just going to apply the transfer tape, burnish on both sides, and then peel off the backing. As you peel off the backing, if there's any of those little Mickey heads that just didn't fully transfer over to the tape, just rub them again from the back, and then you can peel that off. It could be because some of these are kind of tiny designs that they're harder to transfer over, but this is why I like peeling the backing off. instead of trying to lift the transfer tape. This allows me to see which of these pieces aren't fully transferring over, and I can rub those a little bit more as I start to roll back my backing sheet. If I was lifting up the transfer sheet instead, it might be harder to see which ones weren't fully ready to transfer and need a little bit extra rubbing. For this top layer, I'm again going to use the parchment paper trick where you grab the piece of parchment paper. So in this project, I basically have shown you can use a combination of parchment paper or wet method. Figure out which one works best for you or for this specific situation of layering. But this gives you two options to play around with when layering your designs. The last thing I'm going to do is just peel off the film on the back side of this acrylic blank. You could either put your name on the back, or you could do this whole design again and layer it on top of the back so that you have a watermelon on both sides. That's totally up to you, however you want to do it. Before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. I love to hear from you.